You're not going to believe what happened in just 60 days on the carnivore diet. I went from 370 pounds down to 321 pounds in just 2 short months. I lost 49 pounds of pure inflammation and body fat. The change was so radical that people thought I had either taken a miracle weight loss drug or had some type of surgery. But that couldn't be further from the truth. I simply stuck to beef, salt, water, a little bit of butter, and eating 1 meal a day. But this radical change didn't come without stumbles along the way. There was a massive failure on day 33 that left me feeling miserable and seeking for a restart. And so I took control and found a way to lose those 49 pounds within 60 days. I'm Jordan, and welcome back to Goforth&Carnivore. This was me at day 0. 370 pounds. I was drowning in chronic health issues, high blood pressure, horrible cholesterol, heart rate that never go away, sleep apnea that was having me doze off at the most random times, having severe gout flare-ups, painful eczema all over my hands and my fingers, embarrassing acne that showed up when I turned 30, and also the horrible IBS that I've mentioned multiple times before that would leave me running to the bathroom 5 or 6 times a day. Now, at my heaviest weight, I was 399.1 pounds. I promised to never see 400 pounds on the scale. And through a little bit of devotion, I made my way down to 370 pounds, but still was dealing with multiple issues, autoimmune issues, chronic illnesses that would just leave me feeling miserable, and I knew a change had to be made. So I started the carnivore diet at 370 pounds and lost a dramatic 28 pounds in the first 30 days. But on day 33, I had a horrible cheat day. It left me feeling miserable, and I knew that I had to make some changes if I was going to stay on this or if I was going to make this just another yo-yo fad diet that would leave me miserable and skyrocketing back up to the 399 plus pounds. But looking at different examples like Mikhaila Peterson, Kelly Hogan, and the lady who does Carnivore Revolution, I was able to see different things, techniques that they had used to help them find a level ground with their carnivore journey. And for me, I had so many chronic issues that I needed to start doing an elimination diet to see what was causing all this. Specifically looking at Mikhaila Peterson, I noticed she had stripped everything down to just simply ruminant meat, salt, and water. And I know that that radically changed her. And I won't sit here and say that my ailments were anywhere near hers, but I can tell you that through the different irritable bowel syndrome issues, through the gastrointestinal issues, through eczema, through the sleep apnea, all these different things, I was miserable and I had to make a change. And so I decided to do simply beef, salt, water, and butter. I couldn't live without the butter. I couldn't go that strict. But I had to finally make this decision because I knew that I would just fall right back to the old me, going back to the emotional eating, doing whatever I had to do to survive. But this time I really was going to do whatever I had to do to survive. I was going to make an investment because I had a wife and I had 2 children that I needed to be here for, to live as long as I could, and to be the best example that I could be for them. And so that investment led me to the grocery store where I bought all of the ground beef, all of the roast, and all of the ribeyes that I could simply afford. In fact, I have my little haul right here where I show everything that I bought on this trip. Oh look, there's the fly making its cameo again, even though we set out many fly traps. But I made such a huge investment that I knew that I would hold myself accountable to this because we had all of this meat that either was going to be eaten or was just going to rot away. And me being the cheap man that I am wasn't going to let that happen. And so I set on this course. I talked with Rachel. She encouraged me and we made a plan where I was going to do this. And so it was for the rest of the 60 days that I stuck to beef, salt, water, and butter. I didn't even have coffee. And if you know me, I love my coffee. But even then, I stuck to beef, salt, water, and butter for the remainder of the 60 days. The 1 meal a day was a very hard challenge at first. I had spent my entire life eating multiple times a day. I'd wake up and eat. I've never even really been a breakfast person, but I would still eat something in the morning. I would snack until lunch. I would eat lunch. I would snack until dinner. And I would eat dinner, and then I'd probably have a little bit of a snack before I went to bed. But as soon as I kicked off carnivore, I strictly went to 2 meals a day. And so I had already gotten accustomed to only eating 2 meals a day with no snacking. But now I went to fasting for 23 hours and then feasting within that 1 hour. And it was so hard at the beginning because all I wanted to do was devour everything that we had. But again, I would put myself in a situation where I would be busy. I would drink a glass of water. I would pull myself away from thinking about food and going back to that emotional eating. And boy, once that hour 24 hit and I got a bite of that ground beef or a bite of that roast or a bite of that steak, there was nothing better that I had tried, and it was worth the wait. But there was also challenges that came along with that, because that massive cheat day kind of made me spiral for a little bit. But coming back to it, it seemed that I was getting fat adapted again and eating multiple ribeyes throughout this journey. There was a point in time that I was eating just a couple bites of ribeye, and then suddenly I run to the kitchen and have to spit it out. Rachel thought I was getting sick, but the real situation was that I couldn't take another bite of food. It honestly was disgusting to me at the time. It's crazy to even think about now. But I did have to cut back to leaner meat for a couple of days until my body started craving that fat again. And then I was able to incorporate it. And then such satiety that came along with that of just eating once a day, man, it was worth everything. And then through that, I started going to the gym because that energy was starting to come back. I would go to the gym 6 days a week for about 30 minutes. I didn't go for too long because my life is insane, but I would go to the gym 6 days a week and I could just see the pounds falling and falling and falling. And it was so rewarding to get to see that. And even with the workouts, the recovery time pretty much was nothing, because back in this point in time, I thought cardio was everything, and I would be running on the elliptical for 1.5 miles as well as lifting weights. And so before I started any kind of the carnivore, I'd be miserable, and it would make me want to just go to the gym every couple days, and just to be quite frank, never. But being on the carnivore and wanting to get my life in order, I did keep that gym membership, and I was going consistently, and I was able to see the fruit of devoting myself to that. Hitting that 49-pound mark was so huge because I could just see all kinds of inflammation just falling off. There was so many times that my knees would swell, my knuckles would swell, my feet would hurt. Every bit of me would just be so achy from carrying that nearly 400-pound weight and from eating a diet that just made my body hurt. And I could just see things become so much better within me. And then the irritable bowel syndrome was gone. For the first time in my life, I had a normal stool. I'm sorry to be crass, but I actually had a log stool for the first time that I know of. I'm sure I had them as a child, but I have no memory of it. Every bit of my memory was running to the restroom as soon as I was done eating, and multiple times a day. And I finally had a normal bowel movement routine. Instead of going 5 to 6 times a day, I was going maybe 2 to 3 times a week at max, because my body was burning the fuel that I was putting in rather than relieving the waste that it was putting out. It was a totally new way of seeing the way I ate and the way my body got rid of things, because bowel movements are getting rid of waste, and there wasn't much waste that was happening. And I did have to kind of learn to manage the fat and the leanness because of didn't want to have a bad bathroom day or keep things in there. And so I did have to learn how to manage that. Along with that, the skin rashes and irritations started to subside. I realized that the eczema on my fingers, it looked like little tiny blisters everywhere on my hands. I realized that that slowly started to fade away. Now, that didn't just completely go away during this time, but I did realize that it started to fade away, and I got to see what it was like to not just really be itchy all the time. And I never realized that until this, at how itchy that I really was, and how I would just sit there and claw and do all these things. It was something that my mom did too. I realized that it was probably a little bit of nervousness, but we both always did this, and my wife is the one who pointed that out to me. But I realized that that wasn't really what I did anymore, and it was because I was eating meat and meat alone. I got to see my blood pressure start lowering, which is pretty hard to do with 2 kids under 2 years old, and working in ministry, my blood pressure was pretty well up all the time. But I did get to see more control on that, and being able to know, oh, your blood pressure is actually going up now, instead of, oh, Jordan, your blood pressure is always up because you're obese and you're miserable. Now, that's not to say that I still don't right now deal with some type of blood pressure issue, but I'm learning that there is some differences of opinions on how the blood pressure really works within you. And then people started asking me if I was taking the miracle weight loss that everyone was taking. They were wondering, are you on Ozempic, Wegovy, whatever name brands are out there? Or, hey, did you secretly have the gastric surgery? Now, I want to say, for any of you who have taken any weight loss supplements or have done the gastric surgery, there's no judgment from me there. I just wanted to state to them that this was not that. That for me, the miracle was meat. All I did was sit down, enjoy meat, ate it until I full. Instead of fasting, I feasted. Yes, I fasted for 23 hours, but I also got to feast for 1 hour. And it was just amazing to get to see, because the people around me started to notice. Of course, Mrs. Goforth started to notice right away. She would point out different things that looked different on me, and how I looked different, how I looked happier. And it was crazy just how such a little change changed my life so dramatically. The emotional peak of the 60 days was going to a Thunder game with my family. We went to Paycom Arena in OKC, and if you've ever been there, those seats are pretty tiny. That center is about to be gone, and they're building a new arena. But during that time, it used to be so hard for me to squeeze down in those seats. At 399.1 pounds, I look like the Michelin Man trying to fit into those seats. But now, at 321 pounds, I was able to fit there and pretty well comfortably. Like, sure, it was still pretty rough to sit in those seats, but I was able to sit there and not just be miserable, because it's not just that I'm a tall, large man, but because I'm a tall, large man, it pushes me further out with the body mass that pulls me forward, and so my knees go forward, so I would be literally shoved against the seat in front of me. But now I was able to go and sit and just be there with a little tiny bit of space. What's crazy is we went to a David Crowder concert just this past Sunday, some phenomenal bands there. But I was able to sit there, and I was even able to put my arms down and didn't touch the side, or I just then touched the sides of the seat. It's just been such crazy weird things that you would never think of. It's, oh, I've never got to enjoy this. Oh, I've never got to sit down and do this. I've never got to go do that because I've just been so large. But now I'm getting to see the fruits of the commitment to the carnivore diet, and specifically during this time of just beef, salt, water, and butter. The biggest thing I learned during this time is the KISS rule. Keep it simple, silly. With just keeping it to meat, salt, and water and butter, I was able to see a huge dramatic change in my life. I was able to see 49 pounds shed from my life. In this specific time, I got to see 21 pounds just since that first 28 pounds. I got to see 21 more pounds leave. I got to see numbers that I had never seen before. At this point in time, I was the same weight I was when I got married. Now, from when I got married to who I am now as an old, grumpier old man, but I was able to see those numbers again, because most of the time you just go up from there, but I was able to go there and then continue to go down. But I was able to see such a burst of energy and getting to do things with my kids that I would just not have any drive to do. I got to be there as a husband. I got to be there as a father. I got to be there as a pastor for my students, and got to see a whole new side of me by just keeping things so simple. And from that simplicity, I was able to see the success that came along with that. By being committed, I was able to see the growth, or the opposite, the decrease within myself. So if you like this journey along with me, hit like, comment, Tell me what was the craziest thing that you realized within your first 60 days. If you haven't started this, what's holding you back from starting the carnivore? Let it be simple. Keep it simple, silly. You can do this. It's not that hard. It's just getting up and do it. A parked car never goes. You have to throw it in drive, or in this case, throw it into reverse to reverse those pounds, or to reverse those chronic illnesses or autoimmune issues. But you can do it. So what's holding you back? If you're going strong, tell me what you're doing to keep yourself strong. I hope you subscribe to my channel so you can see what happens in the 90-day mark and get to see my journey along the way. This has been almost 3 years in the making of the transformation that I've got to be a part of and to live, and to have all of these carnivore forefathers continue to encourage me and to see their growth and just continue to propel me forward in living the lifestyle of real life and real results. And so until next time, go forth and carnivore. Bye guys.